So we're coming off the back of a incredible year of the UFC, and we're coming off the back of UFC 296, Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. Big trash talk going in. It's the Full Force podcast. I'm here with Dan, and we've got a special guest as well, Denis Frimpong. How are you doing?
Not too bad, lad. It was a good UFC event there on the weekend, wasn't it?
Belting,
we'll get straight into it. The main event, Colby Covington, Leon Edwards. A lot of talk from Colby Covington. You could say maybe not so much fight in the octagon. Dan, what was your takeaways from that fight?
Well, it's all part and parcel of it, isn't it? But I just wonder sometimes if there's a line, and I think the guest tonight is the perfect man to answer that, because he does say some really borderline things that can get under people's skin. So I'd like Denis's take on it.
Mate, my take on it is, people need to stop trying to civilize this sport. Dylan Chuk said it on the weekend. No, it was a couple weeks ago now it was, on an interview. He said, like, we get in a cage nearly naked and try and hospitalize each other. Like, do you know what I mean? We're not playing football with each other. So anything that's said before the fight, if I'm signed on a contract to fight you, anything that's said, A, it's selling the fight, B, it's a mental warfare, and settle it in the cage, because guess what? We can say whatever, and you get to jump in the cage and handle it. So it is what it is, you know. I can't really, going after his dead dad was a bit mad. Obviously, I've done similar things, so I can't really speak too much. I wouldn't do it again, maybe, because I think I looking back on it, I do think it's a bit maybe a step too far. I've always said that my step is like, people's kids, like, leave people's kids out of it. But again, anything I can say that's going to get under your skin and maybe affect your performance 1 to 5%, maybe. Some people maybe even more if they're an emotional person. It's the art of war, do you know? But yeah, I don't think I would have said what Colby said. But yeah, look, I mean, like I said, Leon went in there and got to fucking punch him in the face and out wrestle him and beat him up in front of however many thousand people and the former president of UFC. So, these things can backfire as well.
Absolutely. I've seen Dana say in the press conference afterwards that during the press conference, the pay-per-view sales went up to about 25% globally. So it worked,
There you go. Leon got paid better for it as well. I'm sure he got those pay-per-view points. So yeah, man, like I say, we're salesmen in this game. Viral moments and this and that and the other. Like, I understand different people have different morals. Some people don't trash talk at all. Some people just get in there and just handle their business, and everyone's different. But like I said, again, anyone that has an issue with it, we're going to end up getting in the cage anyway and fighting. So, words are words. We're going to fucking try and hospitalize each other. Look what happened to poor Bryce Mitchell. Do you know what I mean? Like I would have rathered someone insulted my dead family member than that happened to me. So, you get me?
I think in a sense, Leon fought almost not the perfect fight, because obviously the fight wasn't that thrilling, but it was so composed considering how rattled he looked on the press conference and at the weigh-in. He just went in there and sort of said, well, this is what I do. I'm not going to worry about what you say. Was that almost the perfect performance to say, that hasn't moved me? I'm just going to beat you up for 4 rounds, maybe 5?
I wouldn't even say it needs to be thrilling. I think he put on a masterclass. I think he literally put on the perfect performance. The only thing that was missing is maybe a finish at the end. But it's hard to finish someone especially with strikes, when they're not really coming forward and they're not really trying to engage. They're just on the back foot. But mate, he shut Colby down. Everyone's saying about how, Colby's missed a beat and all this and that and the other. But I think Leon was just that good. We're looking at it from a third-person view. He's stood in front of Leon, throwing feints. Every time he went southpaw, Leon went orthodox. Every time he went orthodox, Leon went southpaw. He was feeding him like the single leg rather than the double. And it just left Colby confused and bamboozled, and he didn't know what to do. Every time he came in, he was hitting him with hard shots. He out-wrestled them. shot, you know what I mean? Maybe against his better judgment, shot takedown against him and took him down. So yeah, I'd be delighted with that performance. He came out fresh, didn't really take any damage, and got the win.
Yeah, the bit where he got taken down, but then got straight back up and said, "No, I'm going to take you down now." I think that was probably the coldest moment of the whole fight.
Yeah, sick.
And then, so going into that, with Colby Covington, is it in a bit of a situation now where he's 0-3 in title fights? He's got booed by his own crowd. The president he adores had left by the time he started speaking. Where does he go from here? What is the next step for Colby? Is it time to like prove himself now?
I think he was calling out Stephen Thompson, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, he did. Yeah, it's the oldest guy in the division.
I think that's a good fight. I'd like to see that fight. And then maybe Shavkat comes up, beats Leon, and then maybe he can rally for another title fight against Shavkat. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand in that division, none of those guys really sell themselves. Look at it like the top 3 or 4. You know, you've got Usman doesn't really talk much. Leon doesn't really talk much. Shavkat's probably going to fight for something next. Doesn't really talk much.
Likeable, isn't it?
Bilal Muhammad doesn't really talk much. They're all boring. So Colby's almost that guy that you need to fight these boring guys, to sell the fight, to make it a big fight. And then if they beat him, then it's even bigger or whatever, you know. Yeah, so he plays his role well, you know. And he's meant to be a nice bloke in person, so.
And then, Dan, what do you reckon for the next contender for Leon Edwards? Because a lot of talk is either going to be Belal Muhammad or Shavkat Rakhmonov. Who would you go for if you were Dana booking the fight?
Shavkat.
I think it's on him.
I think it's going to be Shavkat as well. I don't think they like Belal, to be honest.
No, he does all the pundit work for them. Give him a chance. But obviously, they had that. And there's a storyline there with the Leon fight as well. I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah,
it's a tough one with that, because obviously the fight that got stopped early due to alcohol, even though Leon was dominating the fight, that Belal looked incredible in his last one. So yeah, it's a tough situation at welterweight. Who would Belal fight then? Let's say Shavkat gets it. Who are you putting up against Belal?
I don't know. Maybe Leon takes some time out and Belal fights Shavkat.
Yeah.
And winner gets the shot, or maybe. Yeah,
Massive was making the call out to Leon, so they could do that and then have Belal number 1 contender, wrestling style on the bottom half. But then going into the next sort of big fight, or the big fight for the people in the UK, Paddy Pimblett versus Tony Ferguson. What did you make of that? Paddy Pimblett much more composed against perhaps the ghost of Tony Ferguson, but still Tony Ferguson, still such a big name to beat on a big card in front of a lot of eyes.
Hey, Tony Ferguson, when he's 50, is still going to be dangerous, mate.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think he's still mega dangerous. And that first round, that first 5 minutes, I think it reminded everybody how good Paddy actually is. He dominated that fight.
Yeah, I agree. I think he put on a masterclass as well. Obviously, it looked like he got a bit tired trying to blow his load, finishing him. But then he just took him down and just controlled him on the ground, negated all Tony's weird jiu-jitsu from his back. And yeah, it actually gave me a bit of PTSD watching that fight. Fucking George putting me in those same situations. But yeah, you know, yeah, I thought he did really well. Cornrows Paddy's probably a mythical fighter now as well.
David
good, man. We suited him, I thought.
I thought so as well.
If you've got the hair, you may as well use it. But then, where does Paddy go here? Is this now time for him to head into those rankings and really try and make that title charge for him?
He's got to be ranked now, hasn't he? He's got to be ranked at this point. Can't see why he wouldn't be. Let's see what happens. You know, obviously Dana's the big boss. He decides what happens. But I mean, he's kind of the boy, isn't he? Yeah, that lightweight division is murderer's row, though. So there's not really any easy fights once you get in that top 15. So it'll be interesting, but I feel like he'll surprise people. You know, I think people he has like a weird style of striking where you look at it and you'd be thinking like, oh, it doesn't look like he's that good. But then he must hit hard because he fucking dropped Tony, and he seems like he's able to just get weird shots off, which is, if it works, it works,
Absolutely.
And also a big improvement. He's improving. That's the key thing at a young age. And sort of going on to the rest of the card, is there anything, obviously we probably should talk about quickly, that Josh Emmett knockout was just incredible. Early contender or late contender, late contender for knockout of the year right there.
Yeah, has to be in top 3, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was heavy, wasn't it? Obviously, I don't know whether it's recency bias as well, because there's been loads of knockouts all year, but I think most violent knockout this year, definitely, mate. He just, it was he obliterated him. Like, I kind of knew that Bryce was going to get knocked out, but I didn't think it'd be that bad. And that could spell a bad little downturn for Bryce, something like that. He probably get a bit timid, and
soul's been taken now.
Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, Josh Emmett's just one of them. He just has that death touch in his knuckles where, like, he can just land on you and put you out.
Yeah, he's turning into. Sorry, you go then.
Sorry, mate. I was just saying, from our point of view, it was electric anyway. From a fan point of view, it was what we want to see.
100%.
Is Josh Emmett he's sort of turning into that? It's definitely not a bad role to be at. The sort of gatekeeper for featherweight. If you can't beat him, you're not ready. But if you can beat him, then you are definitely ready. And that's a good role, later into your career.
Listen, it's not a bad place to be in the featherweight division, because that's murderer's row as well. For you to be a gatekeeper for featherweight that's even being a gatekeeper for featherweight's a tough ask. You know what I mean? So anyone that can get past him is fucking high level.
And was there any standouts for you guys on the card, Dan? Obviously, we had the relentless Pantoja performance, that incredible women's fight. Was there anything that?
I think that was fight of the night, but also Sean Strickland in the crowd as well. Where the hell did that come from, man?
Yeah, I think Dana sat them together on purpose. That's free promo.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a wrestling angle about that. Just stood so close, just so happened. But going into, do you think that? Are you excited for that fight now after seeing all of that? Is that was like the kick that fight needed almost?
I was excited for that fight anyway. I think Drickus, like, I'm a big connoisseur of the old trash talk, and I think everyone goes on about a lot of other people, but I think Drickus, I don't even like the guy. I hate him, but he's elite at trash talk. He's gotten under everyone's skin, and he remains composed at all times. So, and I mean, the fact that I hate him means that he's doing his heel role well. So, you know what I mean? If you can make a heel hate you, then you're an ultra heel, and honestly, I think he's going to beat Sean. I think he's a bad matchup for Sean. I think he beats Sean and calls out Izzy to come fight for the belt, maybe in South Africa.
That's the first USBS card. Yeah, that could be a real big one. And the other big news sort of following that card or was the signing of Michael Venom Page. How do you feel he's going to do his first fight, Kevin Holland, which surely will be an incredible fight on an incredibly stacked card? I think it's 299. How do you feel he'll do in Bellator? Going from Bellator to UFC?
I think he'll beat Kevin Holland, and I think it's going to be a banging fight regardless. Either one could win. I think Kevin Holland will try and bang with him, and it's probably not a good idea. But I mean, I just think he's too old. I don't think he's going to go for any title runs or anything like that. And in that division as well, like, there's, again, murderer's row at middleweight. Is it middleweight or welterweight they're fighting?
Welterweight, I think.
Welterweight. Again, murderer's row, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? If he beats Kevin Holland and jump straight in, probably top 10. You've got Shavkat waiting there. You know what I mean? So. Yeah,
he's had a couple of losses as well, MVP, hasn't he, recently? So he needs a big fight. Like, he needs a big fight finish, especially. I don't think he can just fight his way through 3 rounds. I think he needs to, if he wants to do something in the UFC for a couple of fights, like you said, he's not going to be going for no titles, but if he wants to do something, get some big fights, he needs to put his stamp down against Kevin Holland.
He might just come in and do what Michael Chandler did. Maybe he'll beat Kevin Holland and beat Bilal Muhammad's next fight. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he'll do what Michael Chandler did and just come in and beat Kevin Holland, fight Bilal, maybe beat him, and then fight whoever wins between Leon and Shavkat. Maybe, I don't know. You know, that sounds like a potential thing that could happen. But yeah, I don't see him. I don't see him beating like the elite of the elite in the UFC. He's just he's a bit not past it, but he's just old. He is old. He's been knocked out a few times. I think his best years are behind him. He probably should have come to the UFC a lot sooner. But
I agree.
And then
what do you think of your fellow countrymen and the pullout and all his social media spat over the last few weeks?
He's no countryman of mine, mate. He claims Brazil. He claims Brazil, and he took a fucking Brazilian's ex-wife's or wife's ex name. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Everyone in the Irish scene, by the way, in the Irish MMA scene, has known about that for a while. Yeah. I'm just like, I was waiting for it to sort of like become a global issue. I'm just glad that it did when it did. But no, everyone in Ireland's known about he's known colloquially as Madeleine McCann. But yeah, mate, he's a weird guy, mate, isn't he? Like, I don't know if he's actually living with his wife's ex, but if he is, that's proper weird, mate. Proper. Yeah, I don't know about taking your wife's ex-husband's name either. That's weird.
But fucking weird of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he's happy, you know, if he's happy, that matter.
Leave him to it.
Yeah, let him claim Brazil though. He's not walking out with no Irish flag around him.
Going in last event of the year, there's been so much MMA in 2023, so many UFC events, Bellator, PFL, Octagon. It's all been going on. In who would you say is your fighter of the year? Just who is your, right now off the top of your head, your fighter of the year?
For me, I'm going to be biased because he's from the next town. I'm going to say Tom Aspinall. I just think how he's done it, how quick he's done it. He is the fastest heavyweight I've ever seen in my life. It's unreal what he does with 4-ounce gloves on.
Yeah, no, I would say that's a good choice. For me, not a UFC fighter anymore, but Francis Ngannou. He smashed it, mate. He smashed it. Do you know what I mean? He's gone out there, dropped the best heavyweight probably of all time, and met his bag, and you know, took his opportunity, and he's a bigger star than he's ever been. In the UFC, say Volk, mate. You know, obviously he's had a couple losses against Islam and that, but that's a weight up as well against a guy who's probably going to run through everyone else at his weight, and probably should be fighting at welterweight, mate. You know what I mean? So yeah, I gotta respect Volk. You know, big Volk.
Especially like you said, stepping up in weight and the short notice as well. What was it like 2 months before it? The mad guy.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I just think, yeah, for me, it's never about like losses and wins. It's about like being a real fighter. You know, my favorite fighter is BJ Penn. Made his debut in the UFC. You know, just started fighting killers from the start. You know, he wasn't arse, like, you know, fucking, we're fighters. Stop trying to pretend to be a fighter, you know, or tell your mates you're a fighter for Instagram and that, like, and have like a sick record if you're not that sick. So
who's yours, Nathan?
Yeah. I think I was with you on the Aspinall one. I think Tom Aspinall probably is the fighter of the year. Maybe again that's UK bias, but I think it's just been so impressive, and that win against Pavlovich was, you know, was a shock, but not a shock, because obviously he survived that early pressure and then went and got it. I had Makachev also possibly being a shout, just because he has been such a beast, beating Volk and then sort of making easy work, albeit in different circumstances where Volk has stepped up on short notice. But that's still a tough test. You know, that's someone that Volk steps up 2 weeks, he beats most of his division and probably the division above. So I thought that was really impressive. I did include a women's fighter just as like honorable mention. Alexa Grasso has had an incredible year, beating Shevchenko and getting a draw. And you know, now the last remaining Mexican women's champion is a market that they've always wanted to tap into, and they've got it. So I think she's had a fantastic year. Maybe Erin Blanchfield as well could be a big fight in the future between those two. Going on to fights of the year, what fights have you watched this year and just been out of your seat, so hyped watching?
To be
What do you
honest,
reckon?
some of the best fights that I've seen have been in the likes of Cage Warriors and stuff. The one that sticks out is a couple with Luke Ryler, who trains at Next Gen in Liverpool. He's the next. He's going to be the next monster of the UFC. That kid.
Yeah, he's sick. Him. Every fight's a banger, but I think with his style, he might not have a long career. But
Well,
maybe he
he's
becomes
he's
patient
now saying he's
Luke
gonna have
Riley. You know what I mean? I think for me, Kevin Holland and Stephen Thompson, mate, just a war, a knock. You know what I mean? The two boys just Kevin Holland took him down, just go get back up. You know, so yeah, it's absolute banger. Both had each other rocked and hurt a few times, and then Stephen Wonderboy just showed his class on the feet. You know.
Yeah, there was some incredible fights this year. I had the first Volk Makachev fight was unbelievable. So much skill, and we, both in the conversation for fighter of the year and just incredibly skilled. There was the Brandon Moreno Pantoja fight, and I mean Pantoja might actually be a shout for fighter of the year. Thinking about it, because he's had such an incredible year, and his story he was doing Uber Eats while training for the fight. I mean, maybe that's maybe not such a good thing when you look at pay and such, but still an incredible story to have so much things going on, but win that fight. What a year he's had as well in the flyweight division.
I think he'll reign for a while as well. Him.
And then, the thing is, he's so strong grappling, but he still almost chooses to have these incredible fights. And then Royval in that most recent one, incredible fighter, but just relentless. Like you'd hate to beat you for, oh, not again. He's one of those just constant, relentless fighter, unbelievable. And going into the new year, there's been a lot of people that have had good 2023. Who is your fighter to watch in 2024? Who is having that breakthrough year, whether it be someone that's already making their way up the card or someone just starting to main card, UFC or outside the UFC, even doesn't have to be.
You're talking to the guy right here.
You're talking
to the guy right here, mate. But in the UFC, I think Shavkat. He's just honestly, I think he is the truth. You go back and look at his record, and 18 finishes, 18 wins. Like he never fought any bums.
The way he won on Saturday as well, being injured leading up to it and stuff. That foot looked nasty, man.
I think he just finds a way to win. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys just finds a way to win. He coming up, I think his first 5 fights, he was fighting 13-3 guys in his third fight in Russia in M1. So they weren't bums. You know what I mean? They were no bums and finishing them in the first round. So I honestly think he's like the next evolution of MMA.
I'd probably go with Shavkat as well. I just think when it comes down to being unbeaten, and there's not many people in the mixed martial arts game that are unbeaten. So, and to have it with the record and the names that he's got on it, I'm not discrediting Khabib in any way, shape, or form. He's a much better guy than I will ever be.
I'll discredit him, mate. He fought a load of bums at the start of his career and his dad's promotion.
On paper, mate, it's silly compared to what Shavkat's doing. Like you said, I think he's the next part of the. I think we're going to have a golden era over the next few years.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. There's another guy sort of had Jack Della Maddalena. I've loved that. I know his last fight was a bit, the way he got taken down, but I can't remember who he fought. But it was at short notice, but I just think his style is so exciting. And as you say, there's a real golden generation of sort of welterweights coming through now that may not be big talkers, may not be, but the fights are going to be incredible. So I'm excited to see that. I think he's fighting Gilbert Burns might be 299 or 298. That's going to be a real test for him.
Yeah, he's becoming a bit of a gatekeeper as well as Gilbert Burns, isn't he?
Yeah, he's always game. That's the thing. That's all you want from a gate. Someone that's just always ready. It's incredible. Josh Emmett in featherweight. You've got Gilbert Burns welterweight. There are a few. Maybe Rob Whittaker as well after sort of losing to Duplessis. I think we're at that point now. It's the new guard versus the old guard now. We've got to that where this new generation of people, and there are so many fights to look forward to in this next year. We'll end off with a prediction for 2024. Obviously, we've talked about Shavkat. What are your 2 big predictions for this next year? It could be anything. It could be someone to stay champion, a fight to happen, a fight not going to happen. McGregor Chandler. What do you reckon will have be your prediction for 2024?
Aspinall will beat John Jones.
I think John Jones will retire and Aspinall just get given the belt.
Oh, you'll swerve him then, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I don't think John Jones wants to fight Tom Aspinall, you know.
Who would though, based on recent?
Do you know what I mean? I'm retiring with that perfect, well, somewhat unblemished record. I'm not trying to fight this new killer and get beaten if I'm John Jones. You know, he has a legacy. He has a legacy to keep. So I understand that. But yeah, I think Tony will retire. Hopefully, maybe do bare knuckle or something.
That's what I thought he was going to. So.
And McGregor will make a comeback, hopefully, as well.
Yeah, it is set to be. Yeah, are you confident McGregor Chandler happens next year?
I don't know about Chandler, but I think McGregor will fight. You know, he enjoys fighting. He has all the money in the world, but no money in the world can buy you the feeling of walking out for a fight and having a fight. So,
absolutely, man.
No, brilliant, and that sort of wraps up. Thank you, Dan and Dennis. Just quickly, is there anything you want to plug? A big fight coming up? Anything coming up?
Yeah, so nothing confirmed yet, but obviously looking at trying to get on Newcastle or Oberhausen with Octagon. Watch out for next year. All them lightweights better watch out. Coming for everyone next year. Make a run at that belt and right the wrongs this year, and hopefully go unbeaten next year.
That's it, man.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah,
Make sure to follow Niche Sports on all kinds of social media platforms. Make sure you follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. I'll see you later. Thank you for joining us.